Hey, Gaming Geek here, coming at you with a report post Gencon 2019. But before we do that, I do want to say that Patreon supporters have an opportunity to win a Table War Fat Mat of their choice for this month of August 2019. If you're interested, go ahead and click below in my Patreon link to find out more details. If you don't know anything about Gencon, it is the largest gaming convention in North America. It happens end of July, beginning of August every year in Indianapolis at the downtown convention hall. There's about 70,000 gamers that converge and check out games, see new releases, are there to do a lot of fun stuff. And I go about every other year just to save money because it is expensive, and this year I went with my son, who also enjoys cosplaying in addition to gaming. And so there's always a good number of people who are cosplaying, have awesome costumes, and this year didn't disappoint either. They also have a lot of miniatures and miniature painting contests, and so Gen Con is just a fabulous experience. If you've never gone as a gamer, it's sort of the mecca. Every gamer should go to Gen Con at least once in their lifetime. So I checked out a number of games, and first of all, I visited booths that I always visit every year with games that I own. The first one is Kingdom Death Monster. I always like going to their booth and seeing what kind of new monsters or new miniatures that they have. I didn't necessarily buy any this year, but I always like going through and checking out their awesome sculpts because their studio makes some of the best plastic miniatures that I've ever seen. Is even better than Games Workshop. I also went and checked out Flying Frog Shadows of Brimstone. I always like checking out their booths, and in particular looking at their paint jobs on the miniatures. Again, I have almost all of the Shadows of Brimstone first wave that I kickstarted a long time ago, and if you want to check out a video of all my painted miniatures, go ahead and click here and you can see those. I also kickstarted their Japanese theme version of Shadows of Brimstone, Forbidden Fortress. I haven't even opened up the box. I went all in at the Shogun level, and I still haven't opened up the box because I have so many other miniatures that I'm wanting to paint. And then I also swung by the Gloomhaven booth and said hi to Isaac. Isaac used one of my plaster cast boards for his demo a couple of years ago, and that's how I got to know him. If you want to check out my homemade 3D board, go ahead and click here. So let's go ahead and talk about the games that I did buy and purchase, and we'll just go here in order. The first game that I bought is Bushido, and this is the second edition of Bushido in terms of rules. It's called Risen Sun, and they just came out and released that new rule set to update all of their cards as well as the rules. And they came out with this 2-player starter set, and so I went ahead and bought this. This is a game that I wanted to get when I was actually at Adepticon this past spring, but they told me that they were going to update the rules, so I waited until now and bought the set. I'm actually planning on painting a lot of the Forbidden Fortress miniatures and proxying them in for this game, because you will be able to download all of the cards and the rules from GCT, who produces Bushido, which I appreciate a lot. Also, I bought Everdell. So I actually, this year when I went to Gen Con, usually I like to do some research about games that I want to check out, but this year I didn't have a chance or time to do that. So I just walked around, and this game caught my eye right away. It has amazing production value, has amazing components, has this tree that just popped out right away. Now this game is probably a little bit on the simpler side for me. It is a worker placement, Euro style game, resource management game, but I bought it knowing that I could probably get my 2 girls to play with me with this simpler rule set and super cute animals that are on the cards. And so I primarily bought this as well as the expansion. This game has been out actually for over a year and is really popular, and I was surprised that I had to stand in line to buy this because they were selling out of the expansion as well as the wooden tree, which I didn't buy, but I'm excited about playing this game. Another game that I bought was Riot Quest, and here you see I bought 2 starter sets because each player should have their own set of dice. Now it is repeat characters, and this is the game that you see before you because I had an opportunity to play. Honestly, I don't think I would have bought this game if it was just me, but because my son really liked it a lot when we demoed this game, I went ahead and went all in and bought it because he said this was a game that he would play when he comes home from college and stuff like that. So over time, I'm going to go ahead and collect all of the releases and expansions as they come out. I normally don't play with unpainted miniatures, but because my son left for college, we wanted to get a game in before he left. There were a number of games this year at Gencon that featured sort of a battle arena mechanic. Even Games Workshop had a game there, although we didn't have a chance to play. I don't remember what it's called, but they had a futuristic 40K version of a battle arena. And I also tried out Mythic Games Super Fantasy Brawl, and that's a game that I actually kickstarted, but it was fun to be able to try out the game. And again, that was sort of a battle arena game where you're fielding a team of heroes, and when your hero dies, he respawns. And so I'm not sure what the impetus is for an increase in those kind of games, but this one is pretty fun. It's quick, it's fast, there aren't complicated rules, and so my son liked that a lot, so I went ahead and bought this game. One thing to say about Riot Quest is that you don't have to buy 4 starter sets if you want a 4-player game. We played a 4-player game after we got home, and having only 2 starter sets, you can get away with just doing what I did, which was scanning and printing out a hero sheet for each player. So these are all the characters that come in the base set, as well as copying off all of the equipment cards. I thought that worked out fine, and we proxied in some of my other miniatures that were actually painted. And so as long as you can tell which character goes with which sheet, I think you can proxy miniatures pretty easily. And I know that you're supposed to use a white action die to show how many actions you have, but I just used these beads for each player as actions, and we shared all of the dice as a 4-player game. So I think that works out fine. So you don't have to invest another $50 in buying another starter set if you want to play with a bunch of your friends and you don't mind proxying in some miniature. And then over here we see Warcry. Now I actually pre-ordered this from Miniature Market, but I did test it out when I was at Gen Con, and they did release the set while I was there on Saturday. I did order the Corvus Cabal that is supposed to come out this Saturday. Now this is where some of the craziness of Games Workshop comes out, where they told me that on Saturday they would be able to hand me the Corvus Cabal, and that's why I went ahead and ordered it when I got to Gen Con on Thursday. But when Saturday rolled around, they said that that was a mistake, that it wouldn't be released until a week later. And so I was a little bit miffed about that, thinking that I would be able to have that right away. But I don't mind too much because it will be coming. They're going to ship it and mail it to me, and it should be coming this next weekend. But I'm excited about breaking this out and trying it because it seems like this is the rule set that I wanted for Kill Team. Kill Team I thought was a little bit too complicated, and Warcry from initial impressions is a lot simpler. But is it too simple? Tune in when I do my review and my rules video, and you can determine for yourself whether or not Warcry is a game for you. But I'm excited about this. So these were the games that I bought. Let me share with you some games that I tried out and that I liked. I'm sort of on the fence of whether or not I'm going to buy them. Some of them are going to be kickstarted or are unavailable. But these are games at least that I liked. I'm not going to share about any of the games that I didn't like. But here are some of the games that I liked. The first one is from CMON called Dragon Gaius or Gaius. I'm not sure how you spell it, but it's a combination of Japanese mech and Final Fantasy chocobos versus demons. And it's a 2-player game. It has insanely cool miniatures in this game. And it plays a little bit like chess. And so certain models can only fight against other models, and you move them along this hex grid, which is pretty dynamic. I don't know if I'm going to kickstart it, honestly, but I did enjoy playing the demo game. That's from CMON. Another game that I tried out that looks interesting is Fantasy Flight Games. Showcased their Marvel Crisis Protocol, which is a skirmish game with squads of about 5 heroes on each side, and you're fighting each other. I had an opportunity to demo this game, and it is pretty simple. What interested me the most is I don't have any superhero miniature games. And so if I were to invest in that, I think I would go ahead and pick up this box when it comes out, I think later this fall. I like the level of complexity that was in it, which wasn't that much. And so if I were to get into a superhero game, I think I would purchase that. So we'll wait and see whether or not that's something that I'll pull the trigger on later. A game that I really liked was from Plaid Hat Games called Aftermath. And this is sort of a choose-your-own-adventure version of Mice and Mystics, and that's a game that I really liked to play with my kids. Again, I'm not sure if I'm going to get this game. I would get this game if my kids are interested in playing it, and I like the campaign aspect of the game. And what's really neat is the board is actually the adventure book. And so the adventure book has these maps. After you finish, you have choices to make, and based on those, you turn to another page of the adventure booklet where it will have another map. And so I think the campaign version of that seems pretty fun and exciting. The rules were fairly simple. You have you're using cards, playing cards to do actions. So I thought overall it's a much better game than Mice and Mystics, which Mice and Mystics was a fine game. I liked it, but this is a step up. I also got this nifty hat for demoing the game. I tried out a game called Legends of Sleepy Hollow, and I don't know I don't remember the producer of the game, but I thought it was pretty fun. It was relatively simple. The only question I had was it comes with only one board. It might be double-sided, but it felt to me that you would be restricted based on just using the same board over and over again. So I don't know about replayability, but I thought some of the action mechanics were pretty good in that game. I think it's going to be kickstarted later. I'm not 100% sure. But that's a game that I might keep my eye on. Another game that I tried out was God's War, and this is from the same producers that made Cthulhu Wars. The miniatures are huge, they're massive. Just like in Cthulhu Wars, you have these huge miniatures. And so God's War, I asked what was the difference between that and Cthulhu Wars, and the representative said pretty much that God's War has a little bit more political intrigue. It isn't just trying to totally annihilate the other side. There's more tactical decisions that you have to make. And so he suggested God's War over Cthulhu Wars. My friend has Cthulhu Wars pre-ordered, and so we'll probably end up playing that. But God's War did seem more interesting to me than Cthulhu Wars. I did watch my friends play Vindication, which was available for sale there, but I know Kickstarter backers still have yet to receive their copy, which I know really pisses off Kickstarter backers. But one of my friends did pick this up at Gencon, and I didn't directly play it, but I watched some of my friends play it, and they said that they really like that game. One game that I did play while I was there is Wingspan, and I do prefer Ameritrash miniatures combat games over Euro games, but game that I really like a lot. And so actually I've played this game before. One of my other friends has it. I didn't purchase the game, but I just wanted to give a shout out because I think the production value of the game, the theme of the game is really unique. The whole thing about the game I really like a lot, and it sold out pretty quickly. This from Stonemaier Games. There was a bunch of other games that I tried, and honestly, there's so many games that I don't remember exactly how they went, but I really showcased the ones that I do remember and think were fun. A lot of games that I know other people, other reviewers played that I didn't even get a chance to play. The Funko Pop games seemed to be really popular. I have very little interest in that, and so I did swing by their booth, but I didn't really try it. But there were so many games there, it was almost impossible to try out all of the major ones. Now, one of the things that I really did have intention of going when I went there, and I was happy to see that Games Workshop did have a paint station next to their demo games of Warcry. And I did end up sitting down and painting, but mostly I wanted to check out their contrast paints because I'd heard a lot on the internet about these contrast paints. And I do agree with a lot of the people who talk about these contrast paints, and I think Miniac is the one who probably provided the most helpful feedback. Go ahead and click here if you're interested in checking out his. He does a very thorough compare and contrast, no pun intended, between these paints as well as other alternatives or more traditional ways of painting. And what I do agree with, almost everyone who talks about this, is that the darker colors are not good with contrast paint. So if you look at this, the blue and the red on this model, there isn't enough contrast, there isn't enough highlights, and so if I were to use this color, it does seem watered down, and a number of people have said using contrast paints exclusively makes it look like you're using watercolors on your model. It's sort of faded, not very high contrast, and I think that is true for the darker colors. And so I would avoid getting the darker colors in contrast paints and sticking to the traditional method of painting, of using inks, of highlighting, because I would definitely have to go back and highlight this blue robe part because there just isn't enough contrast. Now, having said that, I think the lighter colors and the skin tones, the contrast colors really do work well. And the yellow is amazing. The yellow really pulls through on the promise that you just have to do one coat of this yellow. And I hate doing yellow because yellow is notoriously difficult to provide any coverage and shading it and all that kinds of stuff. I hate painting yellow. But it really is true that this yellow only requires one paint, and it provides this amazing shade in the crevices, in the recesses, that really makes it that you can get away with doing just one coat. So if you look at this model here, especially at this lion, you can see that it provides the shading that you want. So you can get away with doing just one coat. So I did pick up some of these colors. I did pick up a number of these. So I do think of these more as washes. I'm going to experiment a little bit with what are the differences between using these versus the washes that I currently have, because my guess is it's going to be pretty darn close, but we will see. And I picked up some of the ones that I'm going to use on my Warcry miniatures, especially the flesh, the fur, the leather, sort of the organic things, which is what the other reviewer said these contrast paints are the best for. I received a couple promos from CMON for trying out their games. This Arcadia Quest, which I have, six-sided die from CMON. Of course, I got the 2019 Gencon die. I got a couple miniatures. And I did buy more of these foam miniature carriers for my new case that I bought recently. So this is my haul from Gencon of 2019. I'm looking forward to doing some gameplay videos, some rules videos, some miniature painting videos. And this provides enough, I think, to keep me busy for the next couple of months. So thanks for watching. Go ahead and subscribe and check out some of my other videos, and we'll see you next time.